Hello everyone and welcome back to the No Mind MMA Picks podcast. Today we're going to be going over UFC 268 at Madison Square Garden going down this weekend. What an incredible card. We're so spoiled at the moment, especially after last week. 2 back-to-back incredible pay-per-views. I can't wait. Alright, let's get started with Marlon Vera versus Frankie Edgar. What an explosive fight to kick off the main card. This card is full of incredible fights, full of really close fights as well that can go either way. And I have a feeling this is one of those fights. All right, let's start with Vera. This guy uses incredible forward pressure. Sets a pace that he knows he can go for 15 minutes easily, and usually likes to start a bit slower, start to gauge the opponent's tactics, and then he'll start to implement his game from there. He has really nasty low leg kicks, as you saw in his last fight with Davey Grant. Immobilize that leg, really hard kicks, really fast kicks, and throws them hard and often. Cheeto really likes to scrap. He's a bit of a dog fighter. His best performances are when a fighter plays into his game and starts to fight him. I don't think Frankie Edgar will do that. I think the experience, Frankie Edgar being such a veteran, I feel like the game plan can override fighting the ego of Marlon Vera. Cheeto uses really nice hand fighting, likes to occupy your hands to set up elbows, to set up knees, and also to set up that really nice low kick. When I look at Cheeto coming up against Frankie Edgar, I don't know if he's going to be able to deal with the movement. Unless Frankie Edgar stands and wants to trade with him, I feel like it's going to be really hard for him to track him down. That springy, bouncy movement of Frankie, the ability to counter, to sit down hard on shots, and he has some of the fastest hands in this division. Really fast hands, nice long boxing combinations, he's in and out. The only thing that worries me with Edgar is the age, obviously, and when it's going to be too late. Father Time catches up with everyone, and Frankie Edgar's been around doing this a long time, fighting the best of the best. I think it's a really interesting fight. I think it's Vera with that dogfighting ability, that nasty leg kick, those elbows, knees from the clinch, ability to just scrap. On the flip side, we have Frankie Edgar with all the experience. He's done this before. He knows what he's going in there to do. If he follows that game plan well, I have a feeling he can win a decision in this fight. Although if Vera can pull Frankie Edgar into a scrap, can really push the pace on him, start to get him tired and start to draw him into his pace, I can see Vera making Frankie Edgar tired, putting a lot of damage on him. So in this fight, it's ultimately Frankie Edgar with the experience and Vera as the younger, scrappier fighter that's coming up and really wants to make a name off Frankie Edgar. Ultimately, though, I have to side with the experience. I have to side with Frankie Edgar. It can go either way, though. Wow, what a way to kick off the main card. It's a really close fight, a really explosive fight, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right, the next fight we have is Burgos versus Quarantillo. This one's going a bit under the radar, I feel. This is a really interesting fight between 2 amazing prospects in the featherweight division. Burgos has an amazing style, so fan-friendly, likes to brawl, likes to push the pace with hard leg kicks, hard hooks to the body, hard jabs. Everything Burgos throws is with an intention to hurt you. On the flip side, Quarantillo is more of a grinder, is more willing to push the pace with grappling, longer combinations, ultimately trying to get you tired and wilt to his pressure. Burgos is coming off 2 losses to Edson Barboza, which was a hell of a fight, and it really showed his ability to hang with the top in this division. Before that, it was a decision loss to Josh Emmett. Again, very competitive, and it showed you, with just a few changes in his style and tactics, Burgos can really be a problem up at this division. Quarantillo is coming into this fight on a win over Gabriel Benitez. which was one of his breakout performances, I feel, which was showed a real improvement in his striking, a real improvement over the Gavin Tucker fight before that, which I really didn't feel like he showed the best of himself. Billy Quarantillo's getting better. He's improving rapidly. And I really feel like this is an amazing test to see how far he can go in this division. I want to highlight some of the things Shane Burgos does really well. Some of the things that I feel like he can implement in this fight to have success. First off is that jab, that lightning quick jab. He has had success with that in all of his UFC fights. There's almost no telegraph, very quick, very snappy, and he uses that to set up his harder hooks to the body and to the head. He really likes to feint high and rip low. He uses the body shots, the body work to break your will. And he's always moving forward. So not only do you have to deal with everything getting thrown hard and with power and with the intention to hurt you, but you're always moving backwards. He never lets anyone back him up, and he usually has amazing success being the one walking forward. I feel like he can implement those same tactics in this fight. He definitely has the power advantage over Billy Quarantillo. Billy Quarantillo is more of a grinder. He uses that grappling, uses the clinch, that cage control to really get you tired, and then that's where he starts to go to work. When you're tired, the long combinations against the cage come out. Once he's gotten you to the ground, that's where he really starts to go to work. Using ground control, ground and pound to wear you down, make you tired. It's power versus pace in this one, I feel. Even though Shane Burgos puts on a hell of a pace himself, the big takeaway in this matchup is his power advantage. With all that being said, I'm going to have to go with Shane Burgos. The power, the ability to strike, and who he's shown to be competitive with already in this division points me towards picking him. It's going to be very close though. It's going to be a great fight, but I feel like Shane Burgos takes this one. All right, let's move on to Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. This fight is the real deal. This is going to be a really explosive fight between two of the top lightweight contenders. And they have very similar styles. They both like to throw with power. They both like to hurt their opponents. They both like to look for the knockout shots. They don't like to point fight. There's a lot of similarities in their game, but they also do things very unique. All right, let's start with Justin, the highlight Gaethje. Coming in with a record of 22-3. Coming off a loss. He hasn't fought in a little over a year. That loss was to the champ, Khabib. Before that, he went on a really nice 4-fight win streak. Ferguson, Cerrone, Barboza and Vic. Justin Gaethje has made, in front of our eyes in the UFC, a big progression. Since his first 3 fights in the UFC, where his mindset was to try and create the most exciting fights. And he did, man. The Johnson fight was insane. The Alvarez fight, the Poirier fight, some of the best fights I've ever seen. So you can't discredit the man. He went out there and did exactly what he wanted to. He put on a show for the fans, entertained the fans. But you saw a shift in his mentality after the Eddie Alvarez and the Dustin Poirier fight. You saw a shift where he's like, no, I want to be the world champ now. Trevor Whitman heard that. He has really been moulding Justin Gaethje and Justin Gaethje's skills. It's day and night. From his performances against Poirier and Alvarez to what he did to Tony Ferguson, may as well have been 2 different fighters. Because he still has that aggression, he still has that fury, he still has that that will to hurt you, but it was way more calculated. It wasn't so reckless. It wasn't just built on physiology, and it wasn't just built on power running you down. It was built on footwork. It was built on feints, on setting up shots. So Justin Gaethje today, as opposed to Justin Gaethje in 2018, 2019, is a vastly different fighter. On the other side, we have Michael Chandler, who's only had 2 fights in the UFC. He had an amazing debut against Dan Hooker, winning that one by knockout in the first round. And that really cemented to people, yeah, this guy's at the top. This guy can hang in the top 5 of the UFC. Because before that, he'd spent his whole career in Bellator. And he was a legend in Bellator. He'd picked up amazing wins, 2-time world champion over there. But he's now, I feel, really getting the respect he deserves. Finished Dan Hooker, amazing performance. Didn't really get touched. And then in the Charles Oliveira fight, he made a real good showing of himself. He just got caught. Won that first round 10-8. Had Oliveira really hurt. On his way to win a world title. And Oliveira just rallied, man. Hit him with one of the cleanest left hooks I've ever seen. I actually saw Michael Chandler watch that back with a media site. They sat down and they watched that fight. And he was very honest in his evaluation of his performance early after the fight had happened. The ego disconnected and he was able to evaluate his skills and what he had to do to get better. And I really like that mentality. I think Michael Chandler's a real workhorse. The way he lives his life, the way he applies the lessons of martial arts, dedication of martial arts, and of wrestling as well, from a wrestling room from a young age. The way he lives his life like that, is really admirable, and is a big inspiration for people to look up to. Let's have a closer look at the skills that these guys are bringing in. Michael Chandler, he's coming in with that low stance, hands long, his center of gravity over his hips, and he's looking to walk you forward and land powerful right hands, powerful left hooks. He really wants to come in there and hurt people. He can be a bit reckless at times, as we saw in the Oliveira fight, leaving himself out of position to get caught by that left hook. But his aggression and his willingness to bring the fight forward to you, I think that will make this fight so explosive. They have the perfect style to meet each other and to make it an exciting fight. Chandler uses feinting to the body, fires straight right hands to the body to bring the hands down, where he can come up with the whipping hooks, as you saw against Dan Hooker. He fights with a really ferocious pace. He fights with aggression too, but it's controlled aggression. And he also has the power to really hurt you with one shot, as you saw with Benson Henderson, as you saw with Patricky Pupil, as you see with Dan Hooker, Sydney Outlaw. Number of guys this man has knocked out. He has the one-shot power, and that'll be interesting coming up against Gaethje. Gaethje on the flip side, he was a bit more reckless in his approach. Now, he's really tightened up the footwork, gliding around. You can really tell he's trained by Trevor Whitman. That style, light on the feet, popping with shots. Justin Gaethje has really got up and ran with it. The other thing I want to talk about with Justin Gaethje is his leg kicks. His ability to throw leg kicks low, but his ability to throw them from any range virtually. He can throw them from the clinch. He can open combinations with them. And they're one of his most dangerous weapons. He only needs 3 or 4 of them to really immobilize someone's leg. I see that being a real big weapon for him in this fight. Chandler's been susceptible to especially low leg kicks before. You saw in the Brent Primus fight. Even the Dan Hooker fight at the start, he was eating some low kicks. I really feel like Justin Gaethje can utilize that weapon against Chandler. Start to break down that lead leg, where he can start to find openings for his boxing combinations to the head and the body. Justin Gaethje really targets the body nicely. Feints up high, starts his combination up high to get you to shell up, and then he'll rip down to the body, come back up to the head. He's got a really fair and friendly style. They both do, which is going to make this an incredible fight. I'm seeing this being a collision course, them just meeting each other in the center, no one wanting to take the first back step. But if Gaethje can be calculated, not fight the ego of Michael Chandler so much and not try and run forward and just trade with him, I feel like he has all the means to win this fight, moving backwards, shifting, countering Chandler, and then hitting him with hard leg kicks. I think it's a really close fight. I think it could go either way. I think both guys are really exciting, have a great ceiling in the UFC. This is the fight to make at the moment, and I can't wait to see it. I am going to have to side with Justin Gaethje. I feel like the leg kicks are going to be the difference. As long as Justin Gaethje is comfortable grappling, and as long as he can stop the takedown of Chandler, I feel like he can outstrike him on the feet. Like I said though, very close fight, very interesting matchup. I can't wait to watch it. Please let me know what you guys think, and let's get into the next one. Alright, co-main event time. This is a rematch for the strawweight championship between Rose Namajunas and Weili Zhang. This is the fight to make in the strawweight division. I feel like these two are so evenly matched, and in their first fight, since it went so short, we really didn't get a chance to see skill versus skill, technique versus technique, what each girl wants to implement as a game plan. We know with Rose Namajunas, she's a long-range kickboxer, darting in and out with hard shots. Trevor Whitman has really shaped her footwork. She's gliding around, beautiful jab, snappy punches, and she has an amazing Brazilian jiu-jitsu game to back that all up. Rose Namajunas is a very technical, somewhat flashy fighter, but she has skills to fall back on. She doesn't rely on her flash. Rose Namajunas is 10-4 coming into this fight. coming off 2 wins, the head kick over the champ, Weili, and a split decision avenging her loss to Jessica Andrade. I think the main thing we have to not worry about with Rose, but just question is the mentality. She's been so open, so honest about her struggles mentally going into fights and how that affects her performance. So I really hope she's in a good spot. It seems like she is. Everything I've seen, everything I've watched, it seems like she's in a really good spot going into this fight, which is good because I want to see the best matchup between these 2 amazing fighters. On the other side, Weili Zhang coming in with a record of 21-2. Those 2 losses were separated by 20 wins. She lost her first fight, went on a 20-fight win streak, and then she lost to Rose Namajunas. A really, really tough loss to swallow, especially from how her fight with Joanna before that went. Both of them taking so much damage, putting on the fight of the year. I really guarantee you she didn't expect to be knocked out in 1 kick like that, with the first kick that Rose threw. So it'll be really interesting to see what Weili Zhang's mentality is like after coming off her first time getting finished and not losing in so long. And also in losing in a way which I feel like she didn't think was possible. She's come out with lots of excuses since. She's come out with reasons why she lost the fight, why she was distracted. And that's probably just a coping mechanism for her. Because of that mindset, how strong her mentality is. She thinks she's the best fighter in the world and no one is near her. And that's how you have to think. That's how you have to think to get to this position in the first place. Weili Zhang is a much more physical fighter than Rose. She has the technique, incredible crisp technique, but she's using more physicality to deliver those techniques. Very strong, throwing lots of power, not as much touch. She still throws lots of feints, but she has a more Muay Thai based style where everything's a bit harder. She wants to hurt you with everything. Whereas Rose is a bit more happy to play that game, that feinting, touch, setup game. Like I said, I don't think when Rose and Weili were playing that in their first fight, I don't think Weili Zhang expected to get kicked in the head. You see her pull the lead leg away like she's expecting a touch to the leg. Having that knowledge about their first fight going into this fight is so interesting because I really don't think we saw both women put their skill to the table. I really think this is going to be a drawn out, hard, long fight that goes for 25 minutes. Will it be the power, the savagery of Weili Zhang walking her opponent down, throwing everything hard? And like I said, she has amazing skills to back up that physicality. But on the other side with Rose, it's just a complete different style. She's happy to play the outside game, touch with the jab, touch with that long left hook, throw nice teeps, nice leg kicks. And if she gets taken down, she has incredible jiu-jitsu off her back, incredible grappling. And that grappling will need to keep Weili Zhang cautious this whole fight, especially when she's on the top, if she ends up on the top, because Rose off her back is very, very dangerous. Like I said, these 2 girls, vastly different styles. They're so talented in their own way. And that's what makes this fight so intriguing to break down. Weili Zhang being the powerhouse, being the marauder. Rose Namajunas being the more, not necessarily calculated, but she just brings a different style in there. Her physiology, everything. It's just different. When I compare these 2 and I try and break down what's going to happen, I see Rose Namajunas frustrating Weili Zhang from the outside with jabs, with low kicks. I feel like Rose can play with her distance and make Zhang frustrated enough to try something that deviates her from her game plan. With all that being said, I really like both of these girls. I think they're both really talented. But I am going to have to side with Rose Namajunas. I just think her style is better suited for this fight. Hope everyone else enjoys it though. It's going to be a cracker. Alright, main event time. And what a main event it is going to be. This has been one of my most anticipated fights this whole year. Their first fight was incredible. 2 of the best wrestlers in this division just having a kickboxing fight. May not have been the most technical display of striking, kickboxing, but neither of them wanted to take a back step. They were just fighting ego versus ego. They talked so much shit going into that first fight. It was one of the most heated rivalries I can think of in the UFC. And losing that fight, losing in that sort of situation, must have been a huge hit to the ego of Colby. There was no wrestling that took place in the first fight. Usman almost feinted a takedown at one stage, and Colby pointed to his leg like, I dare you. I don't think either of them wanted to have the idea of their wrestling being superior and their grappling being superior destroyed. Because mentally, that's a huge thing. If you think you're better than that other person grappling, striking, whatever it may be, and you find out different, be a huge hit to your confidence, especially mid-fight. Both of these guys, Kamaru Usman specifically, are different fighters. Both of these guys have made improvements since their first fight. Kamaru Usman, you've just seen them more, I feel like. Usman coming in to this fight with a record of 19-1. He hasn't lost in the UFC. He lost his second pro fight to Jose Caceres, got caught. You can't really put much stock into that. He's been perfect since joining the UFC. The first fight with Colby, I feel like he wanted to prove a point. And since joining Trevor Whitman in the Gilbert fight, and then in the second Masvidal fight, I've just seen Usman hit a whole nother level. His striking technique, his confident striking, those beautiful straight shots he throws, pull straight, beautiful jab from both stances. And he's shown us those improvements he's made over the last few years. Colby has only fought once since their first fight, and that was a TKO win over Tyron Woodley. It's hard to put a lot of stock into that win, just at the stage Tyron Woodley was at in his career. This fight really comes down to game plans. I have a feeling, I kind of am confident with how Kamaru is going to come in. Kamaru Usman's going to want to keep Colby in the middle of the octagon, make him deal with those straight shots I was talking about, put that jab on him. I feel like Usman has definitely the more power on the feet, more power striking, and I think he definitely has the cleaner technique too. What Colby brings to the table is that pace, is that cardio, the knowledge in trusting that cardio, falling back on that cardio. If Colby decides to mix it up this fight, I feel like he can make it really interesting. The odds coming in, Usman's a big favourite, and I can see why. With the improvements he's shown over the last few fights, the dominance he's shown, it only makes sense that he's a big favourite. And Colby not showing us too much since that last fight, it completely makes sense. If Colby comes in, controlled by the ego, trying to knock out Usman, trying to hurt him on the feet, brawl with him, I feel like he's going to get stopped sooner. I feel like Usman's going to be able to deal with that. But if Colby comes in and he just pushes the wrestling, he just tries it, gives Usman another thing to think about, doesn't just make it a striking match, makes Usman work, him pushing the pace, make Usman be in defensive mode, where he usually isn't. Usman is usually the one imploring his game, and the other person is wilting. The other person is fading so bad, can't keep up. Colby has the ability to make him work in this fight. Division 1 wrestler. Amazing pace. He may not have the power on the feet Usman has, but he definitely matches him for cardio. And I think he definitely matches him for wrestling as well. And if he doesn't, I want to find it out this fight. I don't want to still be wondering. Kamaru Usman, since going to Trevor Whitman, looks completely evolved. He's finally starting to get that respect on his name that he deserves. His last fight, being the first one in the UFC to knock out Jorge Masvidal, really changed my tide on Usman. I never really respected Usman. I always thought he was a bit of a boring fighter to watch because he was just happy to coast, not necessarily looking to finish the fight. That's all changed, man. I think Usman's I think he's the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now. And I think he deserves to be with what he's done. Colby coming into this fight, just listening to some interviews, to some content, he looks like he's in a really good place. There doesn't look like there's as much animosity, as much hate coming into this fight from either party. I think they both understand and have a certain level of respect for each other after the first fight, even if they say they don't. Wow, it's an incredible matchup. It's so incredible because I feel like we have so much more to learn about these two fighters. This fight has wrestling exchanges, grappling exchanges, and is a more well-rounded MMA fight. I really have a feeling we're going to see something special here. I feel like the odds should be a lot closer than they are when you just look at this fight, skill to skill. Colby isn't as good as a striker technically or power-wise, but just his pace, his ferociousness, his ability to never give up on himself and to keep pushing is going to make up some of those technical areas that he's lacking. All right, when I have a look, when I see this fight happening, I see Usman being able to have the success on the feet, land those hard straight shots, be defensively enough aware where Colby isn't able to hurt him on the feet. I could be completely wrong, but that's just how I view it. Colby comes in, he's feinting grappling, he's having shots, pushing Usman up against the cage and making him think defensively, a place where he usually isn't. That's where this fight gets really interesting. And that's where I think it could swing either way. Just with the history of these two though, Usman's progression, I am going to have to take Usman in this fight. But like I said, I think it's very close. And I think Colby can make this very competitive if he follows a smart game plan. I'm really looking forward to this card, guys. I would love to hear what you have to say. Drop a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Any questions about it? I'd be really interested to interact with a few of you guys about this card. I will have a breakdown of it all after it happens. And I look forward to speaking to you guys all then. Peace.